Hello everyone, my name is Masha and today I'm going to show you how to make the braided stitch bracelet. I think that this bracelet is pretty simple and a beginner could make it. However, I don't recommend making this bracelet as your first bracelet. If you're a complete beginner who has never made bracelets before, I highly recommend that you check out my beginner's guide and also try to make a chevron bracelet first. That is the bracelet that I recommend all beginners to try out first to get a hang of all the basic knots. So going into this tutorial, I expect that you've made at least the chevron before and you are familiar with the forward and backward knots. That said, let's get into this tutorial. So I have my 3 colors here and I'm going to cut 3 strings of each color, making a total of 9 strings. Each string is going to be about 1 meter long. Now you can have more or less strings per color. That will make your bracelet wider or thinner. And I'll leave a couple of patterns that use a different amount of string down in the description to help you figure out how to do that. But as I said, I will be demonstrating with 3 strings per color. I feel like that is a good average. So since we have an uneven amount of strings per color, 3 for each, I won't be doing a loop because if we do a loop, we have to fold the strings and thus we double them. We can't do that when we have an uneven amount of strings. So I'm just going to make 2 ties on each end. To do that, I'm going to leave about this much for the ties. So what? I'd say that's about 15 centimeters, around that. And I'm just going to put that off to the side and then tape down the rest of the strings to start the bracelet. You can secure your string however you like. I prefer to use tape, so that's what I did here. Now to arrange my strings, I've got color A first, so that's going to be my red, then color B, my yellow, color A again, color B, then A, B, and 3 strings of color C, which is the blue one. So you have red, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow, blue, blue, blue. So for the beginner, you're going to be very careful. Since you haven't started knotting the strings together, you're going to be very, very careful not to ruin that there. I'm going to take these 2 strings, so the last ones, the last red and yellow before the blue starts, and I'm going to make a forward knot with the red onto the yellow. Now, just a reminder, in a forward knot, you bring the string on the left on top of the string on the right, put your finger into the loop, under the string, over this string, twist it through, pull it out. That's 1/2 of a forward knot. Then you tie it up to the top, and then you repeat the process again. You put the string onto the other string, put your finger into the loop, under the string, grab this string with your nail, twist it through, and pull it up. If you want a more in-depth explanation on basic knots, I suggest you check out my detailed video tutorial specifically on that topic, as I won't really be going into detail here. So once we've done that knot in the center, I'm then going to take the second one that's in the middle, the pair of red and yellow that was in the middle, and I'm going to do a forward knot between them as well. Now that I've done that, I take the yellow that I just did a forward knot on with the other red string, and I take this red string and I do a forward knot onto it as well. There we go, so 2 of the red strings we've brought into the center. Now we take the last red string that's on the outermost edge here, and we do a forward knot onto the yellow string that's next to it, then onto the next yellow string, and onto the 3rd yellow string as well. So first on this one, then we do a forward knot onto the 2nd yellow string, and onto the 3rd yellow string as well. Now, as you can see, all of our yellow strings are on the left. We brought all the red strings into the center. We're now going to be bringing each of the blue strings into the center again. So first, let's take the middle blue string. We're going to do a backward knot onto the other blue string that is next to it. So once again, a backward knot is exactly the same as a forward knot, but opposite, of course. So you make a backwards 4, putting the leading string onto the other string. You extend your finger into the loop, under the string, grab it with your nail, twist it through, pull it out, and tighten it. And then that's one half. You do the other half exactly the same, putting the string on top, finger into the loop, under the string, over this string, twisting it through and pulling it out. Now again, as I said, if you want a more in-depth tutorial on the knots, I do have that available and it's going to be linked in the description. Now the same string you just did a backward knot with onto this string, you're going to use that same string and do a backward knot on each of the red strings. So a backward knot on the first one, a backward knot on the second one, and a backward knot on the third one as well. Starting with the first one, a backward knot. Then grabbing the second one, a backward knot as well. The third one. You might not see this very well, but you can see here that a yellow color popped through on the red knot. That can sometimes happen just as you're in the process of making the bracelet. Sometimes colors pop through. All you need to do is you need to pull on this string a little bit. And now that knot is completely red, there's no yellow in it at all. So we finished the row, we brought the blue string into the center. Now we take the next blue string. The string that is off to the right, we're going to take that string, we're going to do a backwards knot onto the blue string, just like we did last time. And then again, same as last time, a backwards knot on each of these red strings individually. So on this one first, then on this one, then on this one. There we go, the second blue string has been brought into the center, and last but not least, the third blue string. With this one, we do backward knots on each of the red strings as we get into the center. Exact same thing as with the other two strings. There we go, so the red bit is done, the blue bit is done. Now, time to do the yellow bit. So for this bit, we take the outermost string and we bring it all the way into the center. We do forward knots on each string that we encounter. So with this string being our leading string, the outermost string, do a forward knot on the first yellow, first blue, second blue, third blue. And we finished making our forward knots on the last blue. So we're just going to do a row of forward knots. So there you go, the first yellow string has been brought into the center. We then take the next yellow string, that's the furthest on the edge, and we do the exact same thing. You do a forward knot on the first string, second string, third string, and fourth string, and you stop making forward knots once you get to the last blue string. Now that the second string has been brought in, we focus on the third string, which is the furthest out, and we do forward knots on each of the blue strings, and we stop once we get to the last blue string. There we go, the yellow has also successfully been brought into the center. And that's pretty much it. That's what you do. You take the outermost string, so in this case, we're bringing in the red. We're gonna take this outermost string, and you do forward knots when you're on the left, backward knots if you're on the right, onto each of the strings, following the string that you have In this case, it's the outermost red. We're going to be doing backward knots onto each of the strings following the one that we have up until the last string of the previous color. So our previous color was yellow. We're going to be doing backward knots onto each string up until the last string of the yellow. Then with the second string, you do exactly the same thing, backward knots onto each string up to the last string of the previous color, the yellow, and same with the third string, backward knots onto each string up until the last string of the yellow. So let's do that with this red, the outermost red. We do backward knots onto each string up until the last string of the yellow. So the first red string has been brought into the center. We take the next red string, and again we do backward knots onto each string individually up until the last string of the previous color, so this yellow. The second color has been brought in, and same here, backward knots with the red string onto each string up until the last string of the previous color, this yellow string. There you go, now the red is done. Next color we have is the blue. And again, following the same rule, this time we're going to be doing forward knots since we're on the left side and we're bringing strings to the right. We're going to take the outermost string, this one, and we're going to make forward knots onto each string up until the last string of the previous color, which is this red string. There you go, the first string has been brought in. You take the next string and do the same thing. A forward knot onto each of these strings individually up until the last string of the previous color, which was the red here. So up until this string. And the last string of the blue, forward knots up until the last string of the previous color, this one. There you go, the blue string has been brought in, and that's what you're going to continue doing. So next up we've got the yellow. We take the outermost string, do backward knots onto each string up until the last string of the previous color, which is this blue, then the next one, then the next one, doing the same thing up until the last string of the previous color, this blue. Then you're going to go in with the red, then again with the blue, and so on. You continue doing this exact same thing. So that's what I'm gonna go do. I'm gonna finish this bracelet and I'm gonna get back to you. And there you have it. That's how you make a braided stitch bracelet. As I said, you can use more strings or less strings, and I will leave those patterns linked in the description for you to check out and figure out how to make on your own. The basic technique is the same. You just need to check the pattern to figure out where the strings should be positioned at the very beginning. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was helpful for you. As I said, I don't think this should be your first bracelet that you make, but I do think that it is pretty suitable for beginners once you've already made a chevron or two. Before I go, I want to give a special shout out to my patrons, and especially my top supporters who are Jane, Zoe, Tia, Nicole, Izzy, Mads, Emilia, Sarah, and Lisa. If you also want to become a patron, there is a link down in the description where you can sign up and you can get exclusive patron-only perks. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining me. I post videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and I also post bonus videos sometimes, so keep your eyes out for that. And I will see you next time. Bye!